If humanity ever launches a final time capsule into deep space, texts like the Iliad and the Odyssey are practically guaranteed to be on board. The ancient Greeks navigated their world using two distinct concepts: mythos, meaning the oral story, and logos, the logical study. Over time, these blended into our modern idea of mythology, but for the Greeks themselves, the line between legend and reality was highly porous. In the 19th century, explorers used the geographical clues hidden directly inside Homer's poetry to locate the actual stone ruins of Troy in modern-day Anatolia. Homeric poetry serves as a foundational pillar for both Eastern and Western literature, having influenced civilizational epics from the Roman Aeneid to the Indian Mahabharata. For a mass audience, the cinematic version of a story often replaces the literary reality. When a film claims the title of The Odyssey while stripping away its specific cultural lineage, it risks overwriting the actual historical record with a simplified, modern imitation. Christopher Nolan's latest project is a massive adaptation of The Odyssey, backed by €6.5 million in public tax funding. Despite that heavy European investment and a storyline rooted entirely in the Mediterranean, the casting department did not hire a single actor of Greek descent for the film. When facing criticism for this omission, the production team often points out that they are simply adapting a fairy tale, a defense that treats an entire culture's ancient history as a fictional playground. Are the foundational texts of Western literature truly open sandboxes, or is Hollywood enforcing a massive double standard regarding whose culture is allowed to be protected? For over half a century, scholars have prioritized Robert Fitzgerald's 1961 translation, which meticulously preserves the rhythmic, oral vitality and specific linguistic nuances of the original Greek. The filmmakers bypassed these established texts entirely. Instead, they chose to base their script on Emily Wilson's 2018 translation. Wilson approaches the epic through a gender-critical lens, explicitly aiming to deconstruct the traditional hero archetype and apply postmodern interpretations onto the ancient narrative. By selecting a source text designed to revise rather than translate, the adaptation locked itself into an ideological framework long before cameras ever rolled. Lupita Nyong'o, cast in this film as Helen, has previously championed intense cultural accuracy. During the press run for Black Panther, she spoke at length about the necessity of learning the Xhosa language and authentically representing African traditions, even in a fictional setting. Yet, when stepping into a 3,000-year-old Greek epic, that strict demand for authenticity vanishes. In interviews, she treats the text as an opportunity to interrogate Homer from a decidedly modern vantage point. Then there's John Leguizamo. He has been highly vocal about ethnic representation, previously insisting that roles like Fidel Castro must be strictly reserved for Latino actors. In this film, Leguizamo plays Eumaeus, one of Odysseus's closest Greek companions, a choice made in a production that actively excludes actual Greek actors. The industry's rules against cultural appropriation appear highly conditional. When extracting from ancient Greece, the protective barriers disappear, and the culture becomes public property. The production team does invoke historical accuracy, but only when convenient. The director notably chose to score the film without a modern orchestra, arguing that such instruments didn't exist in Homer's era. That dedication to the period falls completely apart with the inclusion of the character Sinon, played by Elliot Page. Sinon is entirely absent from both the Iliad and the Odyssey. The character was invented centuries later by the Roman poet Virgil in the Aeneid to explain the mechanics of the Trojan horse. Selective historical accuracy serves as a convenient shield, providing cover while entirely anachronistic elements are injected to satisfy contemporary studio quotas. The irony is that the original Odyssey already contains the deep emotional resonance these modern updates attempt to artificially manufacture. After 20 years of war and wandering, Odysseus isn't fighting to conquer a new kingdom. He endures decades of suffering simply to return home to Penelope, a woman the text treats as his absolute intellectual equal. The story also requires no modern sensitivity revisions to portray male vulnerability. The profound evidence is right there in the reunion between the battle-hardened king and his incredibly loyal dog, Argos. Returning home in disguise, Odysseus finds Argos frail, old, and abandoned in the dirt. When the dog weakly lifts his head in recognition, the warrior has to turn his face away to hide his tears. Imposing a contemporary framework onto Homeric characters flattens the rich emotional intelligence that allowed the text to survive for 3 millennia. The film treats these ancient pillars of history as social currency, trading depth for contemporary relevance. During the press tour, actors were asked what they would say to Homer if he were alive to see this film today. If given the chance, lecturing a poet who lived 3 millennia ago about screen time or modern gender dynamics seems uniquely arrogant. Looking at how his work serves contemporary agendas, the only appropriate thing to tell Homer is that he is lucky to be blind.